for Reba McEntire because I got to slap on some boots and twirl around and just,
Cool.
and have a career-changing moment and be 100% of a model. Well, no, it did not happen like that.
Work that way.
You're going to be at a photo shoot and it's going to be way too cool. Or we're waiting on the makeup artist. Oh, she
Right.
got stuck in traffic, whatever. Every house has at least one TV in it, right?
At least one. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually there's one in every room.
Exactly.
And what's coming through that TV is media. Now, who's behind that media is actors.
Influencer Insight shares the battles, stories, successes of models, influencers, and entrepreneurs as they find the balance of being influential leaders today while creating long-lasting impact for the future. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another session of Influencer Insights, where I have Lili Alba from San Antonio, Texas. We were just chatting. It's about 92 degrees there at 10 a.m. This morning down there, and it's about 62 in Canada where I'm at right now. So we've got a bit of
Jealous.
yeah. Well, I wouldn't mind being down there, but Lili's here to share her story about. She does some modeling, she does some acting, and she's here to share with you her journey on getting started and how that's gone for her. So, Lili, if you just take a minute and just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit more about yourself. So,
Hello there, everybody. I am Lili Alba. I go by Lili because I like my name to be pronounced correctly, and
yeah,
I don't call myself Lili. I'll get things like Lillian, Liliana, and so Lili. In San Antonio, Texas is where my mother agency is. I actually live in Del Rio, which
Okay.
is on the border with Mexico. So, Texas is a huge state. So I'm sure you can relate to that, Benjamin, being in Saskatchewan there.
yes.
I mean, you could drive.
Models, join us on Facebook in our group where we've got all kinds of support and training you need to become a better model today. Check the link in the description.
Like probably 13 hours and still be in Texas. As a matter of fact, when I moved to Hawaii after college, I drove my car from here to Long Beach and then put it on the barge where, it would sail to Hawaii. And it took me as long to get from Del Rio to El Paso, which is also on the tip of Texas, as it did to get to El Paso to the beginning of California. So,
Wowzers.
yeah. And so currently, I'm doing acting and modeling.
Nice.
And I got into modeling by chance. I was working after high school at a carpet and tile store. And one of our regular customers came in, and a very nice lady, chatty. And at one of those points, she came up to me, sort of seriously, and was like, my husband is a photographer, and I'm sure he would love to work with you. You've got the look, you're always well put together. And, some people think that they can do it, but they don't actually translate that energy on camera.
Right.
And so I was very flattered, very humbled. And so I did. I went to go meet her husband, a local photographer, Carl Crawford.
Okay.
And he was very professional, very lovely, taught me everything to do. He put this red light behind my hair. I have long hair down to half of my back. And at that point, it was longer and a lot more full. And I was just so surprised to see how mature I looked at 18.
Right.
Like I feel like that was me. And he was just very, very positive with me and affirmed me that I could be a professional model if I should choose to do that. And I just, felt like this is a new day in my life.
Yeah.
Thing I had never planned on doing. Of course, I knew what models were, what modeling was, there's magazines here, but I never saw myself as that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw myself as more of an intellectual person. I was going to go to college and probably just, get married and have a family. And that's the most that I expected from my life. Now, that's not to say that if you are married and have a family, that you don't have a wonderful purpose.
Nothing wrong with that either.
Really does. And that's what I would have figured for myself. And so it was a very big moment of realization.
Yeah. Okay.
That I could, be something more than I had ever conceived of myself. And I didn't pursue it. Actually, I went to college, got my degree in philosophy. I had other people who would, tell me every now and then, now that you're young, right now you're young and you should be a model. And once again, I was flattered and I did question it, should I do it? But At that point, I had my mindset on, going to graduate school and being a professor. Really, that's how I.
Okay. Quite
myself.
Intellectual then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, philosophy, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but basically
Sure.
all you do is read and write.
Yeah.
It's all communications.
Yeah.
And so what happened that changed my course of life, Benjamin, is that I had a boyfriend at the time. He was a naval aviator and he was in flight school in San Antonio where I was in college. And so he graduated and he got transferred to Hawaii. I
Oh.
graduated and I went to see him. And so on the drive home, literally on the drive from the airport to his house, I had what I've come to know, what some people call a moment of clarity. I just had an incredibly powerful feeling, almost a voice that said, you need to be here. Never mind graduate school, never mind what your family thinks you should do, move to Hawaii.
Well.
And it took me about a year and a half, maybe longer. It was less than 2 years to actually plan, make the connections, save the money, convince my family. No, I'm not going back on vacation again. I'm going to move there. I'm going to live there.
Right.
And I did that. Fast forward many, many years later, and I was living on a different island of Hawaii. Hawaii is a series of islands, an archipelago of 7 islands. I lived for the first 5 years on Oahu, which is the main island where Honolulu and Waikiki are. And then I met another man, was in a relationship, and we moved together to the big island of Hawaii, which is the one with the active volcano that was causing all kinds of headlines about 5 years ago. Yeah, I believe so, because it was erupting just, enormously. I'm sure that most people heard or saw that on the news. And there I got signed to Focus International. What is their name? Focus International Hawaii, and got my first experience with real formal modeling, learning how to do the walk, getting your portfolio done and actually going on jobs. Now, one thing I had heard about my agent is that she signed up everybody but didn't promote everybody.
Right.
And it's just something that I heard. Once I was actually there, I was willing to give it a chance. I found out that that was actually quite right.
Quite true.
She would sign up anybody, because it is a business. It's a business.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day, it's an investment. And I want for beginning models or people who are questioning about it, wondering, I want you to know that it's an investment. You put your money into it, you put your work and your time into it.
Yeah.
And that you are hopeful about returns. So I'm there, I'm getting excellent training, working with excellent photographers, and frankly, just not getting enough jobs.
Right.
And so this is one thing that I wish somebody would have sat me down and told me in the beginning: be your own agent. Don't expect everything to come from your agent, because you'll be waiting a long time. Right. Because what happens, because it is a business and they do need to pay their own bills, they need to pay the rent on that office, is that, sorry about this, people, if you have, expectations, I want you to know for sure that what agents will do is that they'll promote their top 10, let's say, highest booking models, not consciously forget about everybody else, but they'll keep their focus there. And so what you have to do the next time you see your agent is get up there and schmooze and kind of let them know, hey, I'm still here. This is what I'm doing and this and that. Well, I'm really bad at that, Benjamin. Like, I'm not into small talk. Majored in philosophy. I like to go straight to the essence. What is this about? What can I get from this? I don't like, hi, how are you? If you ask me that, I'll probably just say, not bad, because I don't want to get into it. And people in general don't want to hear it, so that's right. I sort of avoid those gloss overs. But pretty much was very frustrated with that first experience, because I went into it as an adult. I had already had lots of positive experiences, lots of people pumping me up, telling me you can do this, And so I expected to go in and have a career-changing moment and be 100% of a model. Well, no, it did not happen like that.
Work that way.
I just want to avoid a lot of people frustration. Don't go in there with those expectations. Go in there and take it like a challenge.
Sure.
Go in there and say, I'm going to be uncomfortable doing this, but I can do it. Why not? And you'll have more realistic expectations.
Right.
So that was my first experience with actually, being a model who's signed. And I was there for 5 years,
Okay.
got jobs, frankly, got more on my own. And I'm going to discuss how to do that, how to be your own agent a little bit later.
What kind of jobs had you done to that point then, that 5 years?
In that 5 years, I did a few photo shoots for boutiques. There was a Paradise Boutique.
Okay.
I did one very, very interesting photo shoot for a photographer who was from New York, who had a very unique vision. I really enjoyed that job because what she would do is take fabrics. So take her own fabric that she had created, which was maybe an image, maybe a photo she took, something she found interesting.
Right.
Hang that fabric behind as a backdrop, and then insert the model in sort of in this particular, shoot, obviously the genre was Hawaii.
Right.
And so she was putting images like sketches that Captain Cook on that silk screen in the background, and then you're dressed accordingly.
Okay.
That was something that I found unique. But that was the most unique. Usually it was like you're wearing someone's clothes and, smiling and pretending that you love that look.
Yeah.
Another thing that I want to put out there, 90% of the time, you'll be wearing clothes that you would not have picked out for yourself.
Isn't that the truth?
That's just the truth. Okay. Now, designers can put their clothes on a mannequin. Okay.
Right.
The reason why they don't do that is because it doesn't bring the life.
Right.
So as a model, you are the life between the designer and whoever might buy that. And it's a really, really important link. But I'm digressing a little bit, going back to the continuity of my modeling. It's okay. I don't ever get lost. I have a very logical mind, which is why I majored in philosophy. But to go back to the course of my, modeling career. So that was 5 years in Hawaii. And did some work with Paul Mitchell. That was incredibly well. I did some really good jobs, but they were not. It wasn't enough to leave your day job.
That's right.
And I want to just stress out there to all the people who are in modeling now, or maybe thinking about, the next step. Don't quit your day job. It's not going to be that kind of thing. So that's the 5 years. I did some acting work out there also. Was really inspired by that. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And Hawaii was the first state to shut down the economy. Now, Hawaii is more dependent on travel than almost anywhere else in the United States.
Yes.
Things have to be imported there. We need that tourism. And so when the planes stopped coming and the ships stopped coming in, almost everybody that didn't have an essential job took a really big hit.
Yeah.
And so I was one of them. And I did apply for financial aid. I got some of it. It just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So it was a really heartbreaking moment, Benjamin. I thought I would, live and die in Hawaii.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay. So I had to come back home. I had to, I didn't want to be a homeless person. I didn't want to move into my car.
Right.
Okay. So I came back to Del Rio, which is where I've been for almost 4 years. Now, the hidden blessing is that because I didn't have to be on that treadmill of supporting myself, of having 3 or 4 jobs. At one point, I had 5 jobs, Benjamin.
Wow.
Okay. Because I didn't have that expense, that overhead of survival, I could devote more energy into modeling and acting.
Right.
And so I looked at the local agencies. I chose the one that had the best pictures, the best models, and I just took a chance and did it.
Wow.
Now, at this point, I didn't even take my portfolio into that meeting. I was on Focus Hawaii's website still, but I was just going to check it out. And I had a very nice conversation with the lady who's now my agent. I'm now at Nelson Fashion Group in San Antonio. And she was like, yeah, and I had to tell her, that I'm my age, I'm over 40, let me know right now, because I don't want to have that experience again where I'm waiting for years and years and years to get work. Let me know now. And she was like, yes, I think we can help you. And, went in there, was very excited, went to runway classes every Tuesday. So at this point, I'm having to commute 2.5 hours every Tuesday to go to runway class, to just get out there, to get my, start enlivening my modeling career again.
A lot of driving.
And once again, it was just not enough. Yes, I've gotten some jobs, some really good jobs. I did a shoot for the Reba McEntire line of clothing. What else is a high profile one? I think that was the most lucrative one I've
That's a
done.
pretty good deal. Yeah.
But
Wow.
it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It still wasn't enough for me to just be doing it full time. And so here's where I want to go back to where I started becoming my own agent.
Right.
And one particular runway class, my agent actually got up on stage and said, okay, we're hearing that you guys are going out for auditions, that you're going for casting calls, and we don't know about it. You need to tell us, you need to run everything through us.
Okay.
Now, that immediately was off-putting to me.
Red flag.
Because I had already come to her as an adult.
Yeah.
I already had experience modeling. I already had experience.
Right.
I already had credits in my name.
Yeah.
I understand most of the models are teenagers. It would be better for them to be chaperoned, for them to be cared for more. That's perfectly acceptable and good. That's a good practice.
Yes.
But for her to tell everybody, you cannot go to an audition unless you tell us and we check it out, that's not something I was willing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's when I got on backstage.com. I got on, Model Mayhem, things that I've adjusted, since then. But that's when I started just going after things on my own.
Right.
And the main thing that I want to stress to people that I discovered for myself recently in this etage of my life where I'm back in Texas is that I never wanted to be asked, what do you do? And say, oh, well, I do modeling. And for someone to go, oh, really?
Yeah.
So I took it on myself to always look well put together so that someone would come up to me and say, wow, you should be a model,
She
and
is.
I don't mean at every single point in my life, like at the gym, I'm not wearing lashes or, anything like that. But just to always, have good posture, have your makeup on, to look like you could be representing that field.
Yeah.
Instead of the opposite.
Right.
And now I've seen models do that. Usually they're very young. They'll come in with just their sweats and tennis shoes and a baseball cap and then become the model.
Right.
I didn't want to have those lapses. I wanted to always be the model.
Just congruent with who you were. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I want to stress to other models out there is that you do not need to depend 100% on your agent. For me, that created frustration.
Sure.
Be your own agent.
Sure.
Because when you're a model, you are the product anyway.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
You're not just your looks, your energy, your professionalism.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, that designer. Now, I have worked with one designer that had the good fortune, just the prowess to be able to hire pretty much whoever he wanted. Most of them are not like that.
No.
They're putting a lot on the line in their new collections.
Yes.
Maybe even they're in debt. They
Right.
don't know how it's going to go. They need you more than you need them. And you are representing a possible failure for them. So it's a really serious service that
Yeah.
you're doing as a model.
No
It's
kidding.
not about vanity.
Yeah.
It's really not.
Yeah.
It's a service that you're providing. Because like I said, designers could hang their clothes on mannequins. They don't do that because models bring life
Right.
to them. And it's not just clothes that you're wearing their art.
Yes.
Because fashion is art you can wear.
Right.
Okay. That's what makes fashion important because it's artistry. And that's why people spend thousands and thousands of dollars on that gown. That's why, because it's someone's art.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's something that I figured out when I was working actually as a model, and I was working at a fashion store. So I was working as a model and also as a retail associate. And I just kind of figured it out. Like, that's why people will buy. And at that time, it was Juicy Couture.
Okay.
That was all the rage. And,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's why people will buy it, because Juicy, for this particular, just going to a little bit of backstory, it was created to be like comfortable couture.
Yes.
But still, it was something that was created. It's not just sweatpants.
Right.
And so that's something that will help you to feel proud and successful as a model regardless of what job you're
Hmm.
at. Because most of the time, you're not going to be wearing clothes that you would pick out for yourself.
Right.
Okay. I did that Reba McEntire.
Yeah.
It was clothes for ladies who are her age. And you have to make it look great because it is a great opportunity. She picked me. She could have picked anybody else. There's other models over 40 at my agency.
Right.
Okay. But still, it's still an honor. Every time you get a job, you take it as a professional job. And you don't wear that long face. If you have to wear a long Pepto-Bismol pink gown that you'd never wear. No, you don't. You have that mentality that you're providing a service because you are.
Yeah.
And it's an important service.
Yeah.
So that's
well said.
I wanted to say about
Yeah. I don't know if I've heard anybody explain it quite that simply, right? But that really is the essence of it. And remembering that who you're working for, right? It's not just yourself, it's for the designer, and promoting yourself as a model is for agency, right? So I mean
absolutely. That's absolutely true. And most agencies, actually all agencies, have their, professional standards. At Focus, you had to be there an hour in advance for your call time. And that's just because in Hawaii, in general, it's a more lackadaisical approach to time. There's even a phrase called Hawaii time. You're never late, you're on Hawaii time. So she would build in, my agent then, she would build in that hour so that you'd come in on time.
Right.
But because I'm not from Hawaii, I moved there, I would actually be there an hour early and just, and I use that time to chat up the photographer, the designer. I would go the night before and look up their design so that I would have something not only intelligent, but personal to talk about so that we would have that connection, because they see a lot of models. They're not going to remember all of them.
No.
And so you don't want to be forgettable as a model. And, I have a look that isn't exactly unique. I'm a brunette in Hawaii. I'm a brunette in Texas. It's flooded with brunettes.
Sure.
And so what I would do is I would, do the legwork to research them and have something that I could talk about that was not only personal, but that was authentic. And maybe it wasn't necessarily about their clothes. Maybe, it wasn't something that I'd ever wear, so I'm not going to lie to them and flatter them and say, "Oh, I love it."
Yeah.
Maybe they had been somewhere, they had traveled, and I had been there too.
Yeah.
Just that's one thing I also want to encourage models to do is not just, get your model bag ready, but look up actually the designer's work. See if you can make that authentic connection.
Good.
Because you don't want to be forgettable as a model. And you also don't want to be unprofessional, like you're late, you walk in there, you're chewing gum. Just do your best to remember that you are doing a service for someone.
Yeah, you've kind of covered a lot in the first couple we've got here, but what are some of your most favorite shoots or experiences modeling that you looking back now?
Some of my favorite ones, my favorite ones are always the ones where the photographer puts on music. Okay.
Oh,
you don't get that at every shoot.
No, true.
Okay, let me just tell you, and you can't go in there and bring your own jams. Okay.
Right.
You can't do that. You can't interrupt the flow of how they design the shoot.
Right.
So those are always my favorite ones. I love the one for Reba McEntire because I got to slap on some boots and twirl around and just,
Cool.
just be the classic country girl, which is not something that I, see myself as.
Yep.
And so I got to bring that part to life. I want to also point out that underneath modeling, underneath dancing also is acting.
Okay, right.
You have to have that connection to whatever it is that you're selling. Okay.
Yeah.
It won't always be clothes. It might be shoes. It might be jewelry. You want to bring that to life. You want to find something that you like about it and enjoy it and project it. You don't want to be like a vacuous model, have that sort of blank stare unless you're doing runway. Okay. But you want to be sure to that the life what I ever don't want to experience again is like what I had on my first photo shoot where the photographer was telling me, okay, give me some energy, give me some, give me some light. Okay. Yeah. So what I do is I find the connection to it a little before. And that way, when the photographer's ready, so am I. And they're
That's
not
a good idea.
taking steps back to coach me. Okay. Because they're going to pose you anyway, but for them to be taking steps back and having to train me in modeling, that's something I didn't want to do again.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I discovered. But I over-answered you. My really fun shoot lately that I've done was the Reba McEntire one. And it's because music just makes things flow better. You know, you get into a rhythm, you know, when you're hearing music, you know, and hopefully it's music that is somewhat enjoyable to you and the photographer. And it just brings a different element, a different vibration to the whole shoot. I've also been on shoots where you couldn't have music because you're out in Hawaii and there's a beach and there's rocks and it's hot and everybody's getting irritated and you want to do it as fast as possible because it's hot and muggy. So, but yeah, my favorite shoots are the ones that are a little more comfortable and where you can get into that movement because the music helps to move you.
For sure. That's cool. The Reba McEntire, was that like, were you shooting for a catalog or was it a show or?
No, it was her line of clothes and she sells them exclusively at Dillard's. So this was for a Christmas promotional.
Nice. Very cool. No, that's big name to be a part of those kind of things. And
it is, you know, and that's out there. So, you know, I don't want to douse models' enthusiasm thinking that you can't do something for somebody really large scale. Like it's possible and it's out there, but I'll tell you what, it's not going to happen if you don't take that first step.
Sure.
Okay. So I want to encourage anybody who has ever thought of modeling, anybody who thought they might want to, who's been told they can, just do it. Do it first, you know, think about it later. I mean, obviously behave.
Yeah.
You have to have the experience before you can disregard it. You know, I've heard people saying, sort of talk themselves into and out of things. Don't. Just go and have an experience. Have positive experience.
What do you think? Do you, because you've had quite a bit of experience in the industry now, have you seen quite a shift from the different types of models maybe that were expected in the beginning when you started versus now, or is that something that you've come across?
Yes. And I, for me, it's a positive change because it's a lot more inclusive.
Right.
So nowadays you see a lot more curvy models. You see models with tattoos, with colorful hair. When I started, those, like, if you had that, you're not going to be a model because you are.
That's right.
And so it's a lot more inclusive. And I think it's a positive change because at the end of the day, really, Benjamin, a model is not just about how you look. You're providing a service.
What are some things that you think models should be cautious of when they're out shooting and they're starting out and developing their portfolio and that kind of thing?
Models should be cautious of depending on the photographer or the other party to provide everything for them. So, and here's what I mean. I mean, like really bare bones things. Like I've been on shoots in Hawaii where the photographer didn't even bring water.
Oh, really?
I mean, like bring some water, you know, it's going to be hot. You know? So I started overpacking things. You know, you, as a professional model, you have to have a model bag with certain things, you know, just things that you can brush up your hair, makeup, 2 types of shoes, take extra water. So don't depend or even think that where you're going to go, you're going to be comfortable.
Right.
That you're going to be provided for. And I don't mean to offend or denigrate the professionals on the other side of it, the photographers, the assistants, the makeup artists. They're all doing a job too, but they're all humans. They could be having a bad day. That makeup artist could be on her cycle. She could have just had a, you know, fight with her boyfriend. Right. You know, and she forgot her sponge. Like, be over prepared. Don't expect the other side to provide everything for you. Oh, well, I'm here on the model, on the body. Don't, like, you know, they're people just like you know, expect delays. Don't plan something half an hour after that shoot's supposed to wrap. It could go on. The photographer could have forgotten his tripod, you know, and any number of things. Be over prepared and be ready for that. Good. Don't let that, because those things are going to happen more often than not. you're going to be at a photo shoot and it's going to be way too cold.
Yeah.
Or yeah, or we're waiting on the makeup artist. Oh, well, I'm here now. She's wasting my time. It's going to happen. You know, she
Right.
got stuck in traffic, whatever. So be over prepared. Be ready for those things that you might frustrate or irritate you, and use it as a chance to be gracious.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Mhm.
I kind of think of my day job. I work in an office, so my life doesn't change that much. You know, I go to the office, I sit at my desk and do my thing. But when you go to a shoot, you know, like there's all kinds of variables that come into play because it's kind of a
Mhm.
one-time thing, right? And so yeah, I mean, I probably could be more prepared a lot of times, but that's kind of my goal, is just to be as ready to go as possible, because you never know what you're going to see when there's so many variables and changes and whatever, right? So
No, that's true. And I think in men, it's maybe not as
probably
expected,
not.
but as a woman, you know, there's more equipment preparation,
Sure.
just things that you need to,
Yep.
you know, just as a woman, regardless of as a model. So be sure to have like have two brushes, have two towels, you know, just, and this is going to change for you as you experience this life, as you experience shoots. You know, you'll adjust your model bag accordingly. And then maybe some things you realize you haven't used it in years, you know, take it out, but in general, be over prepared. It will help.
Yes. How much of I guess I know you do a little bit of acting. Just to touch on that, how did that transition happen, and how much of that are you doing alongside the modeling?
That started in 8th grade. So I took drama class and I got a soliloquy from Shakespeare.
Cool.
So I have no idea why Mrs. Parker picked me, an 8th grader, to do that. But I had a very positive experience doing that. She actually went into my next class after I had done that.
Okay.
And made my teacher make me get up and do it again.
Really?
And so I thought, okay, well,
Something to this.
must be something here. Now that it's years and years later, I realize that, you know, if I started with Shakespeare and didn't have a meltdown there, you know, it's possible for me. But also in Hawaii, at Focus International Hawaii, most agencies are more than just modeling. They
Right.
will also promote your acting, get you into commercials, and so I had a few opportunities to do that. And I found that I really enjoyed it and I got really positive feedback. Now in Hawaii, I was doing mostly background. I did have one lead role where I got to act, dance, and also speak with a Romanian accent.
Cool.
So it was one of those experiences that was really, really positive, that really blew me up, that I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do acting now. No, doesn't happen like that. It doesn't. Now in retrospect, I realize that they didn't know better. They didn't really know what a trained actress is.
Right.
I just was able to do that job. And because I was also able to dance and speak the Romanian accent, because I actually speak Romanian,
Sure.
it gave them a very, you know, like they had a lot of positive feedback for me.
Right. A lot to work with there.
And I also had a really positive experience on that set that I'll never forget, that really made me believe I can do this as a job. Is that on the first day of the set at GI Films, they had arranged to play practical jokes on people. They were going to do their little initiation hazing. Okay. And so I was getting ready. I had my call time, got there, was getting ready for my scene, and I could hear, you know, a ruckus going on, but I didn't have time to go and engage it. I was just going to get ready. And sure enough, when they called action and I went around the corner and there was somebody there just like waiting. This is what they had been doing. Somebody was there and they were going to scare the people. And so when I turned the corner, the guy goes, and I just didn't even flinch. I knew that that wasn't in the scene. So whatever was happening wasn't related to me. And so I just, you know, kept going, went on with the scene. Well, they weren't ready for me. They were expecting for me to fall apart.
Right.
You know,
of course.
and so they weren't ready to shoot. Then afterwards, you know, they were all like, dang, you know, and that made me think, yeah, I can do this. You know, like I have something already in me, and it was focus. And it's very important in acting. to be focused. So that was a really positive experience, which got me to this feeling of like, well, here's, something else.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you, it's good to have those feelings, but don't get frustrated if it doesn't happen overnight. It usually doesn't.
Right.
Usually doesn't. And so that's where that started, Benjamin.
Sure.
And then fast forward, it's, past COVID. I did a few movies in Hawaii. The biggest, most high profile one is called Running for Grace, and it starred Jim Caviezel and Matt Dillon, but like I said, I'm just a background actress. Like I'm just there. I'm not just a head because I had a really great costume. And so they kept calling for me. They were like, okay, no, we need you to be in front here. So, once again, it was just a very positive moments that led me to believe that I can do this, but it was because I was prepared.
Right.
It was because I took the time to put together my own 1920s costume because I didn't want to be wearing somebody else's clothes.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me see what I've got, pulled together a costume. They really liked it.
Cool.
And so, they kept using me. They kept looking for me. So preparation is key.
Right.
Even if you're just background, be prepared because you're not going to get that opportunity again. Everything you do is a one-time event. Even if you work with the same designer for years, they're not going to be the same. They're going to have new ideas, hopefully.
Sure.
You're not going to be the same. So just be prepared for those moments because they do happen. They do happen and they will happen. One thing also that really just opened up my mind recently, Benjamin, is to have that realization that, hey, I just had really good moments that inspired me, that positive energy, but I didn't really have the training.
Right.
Because 8th grade was a long time ago.
Yeah. No kidding.
I don't even remember what grade I got for that class, but what I'll never forget is that Mrs. Parker went and made me do it again. And I had to do it twice.
Yes.
And then I got applause.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. Where I was going with this is that I had a podcast with a professional actress. And she just kind of, was looking over my credentials and she was like, and you've never actually had formal training as an adult. And I had to say, no, I haven't. I mean, I've been in movies, I've been in things, I've been in TV series,
Yeah.
And she was like, you wouldn't go to a surgeon if they didn't have a degree. You probably wouldn't even go to a dentist, right? You wouldn't see your doctor and let them operate on you. If they actually were still a student, right? And I was like, well, no. And so she was like, well, I want to encourage you to, get into acting class. And I'm telling her, well, I live way out here. There are no acting classes. And she was like, get online. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Why not? And so I looked up 3 of the sources that she mentioned. One of them just so happened to be having an intensive that weekend.
Cool.
I had just come into a sum of money and it just came together. It clicked like that, Benjamin.
Yep.
And that's where my first experience at the Actors Foundry, where I'm currently enrolled. It's a very fine school where I actually started getting into the nitty-gritty of acting.
Nice.
Of what you actually need to do to prepare for a scene, to have your focus ready, to be connected to the other actor, just the real nitty-gritty of acting. From there, I see acting differently now. I see movies differently.
Sure.
It's really, really opened up my mind, my experience, so that I am experiencing the world differently. Because in this modern age, we're all getting an education through media.
Yes.
Now think about it.
Yeah.
And that's an easy thing to say yes to, Benjamin, but every house has at least one TV in it, right?
At least one. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually there's one in every room.
Exactly.
And what's coming through that TV is media. Now, who's behind that media is actors, right?
Yeah.
Newscasters, sure, politicians.
Fair
but
enough.
They're all in some way acting. They're doing that service.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't want anybody to get discouraged or think that acting is some like foo-foo, artificial, lucky, it's reserved for the talented. No,
Right.
no.
Right.
Acting
Need all
is the
kinds.
art, just like fashion is art you can wear. And so discovering those essential things has really been something that helped me to focus and to not feel like, should I do this or should I not?
Fair enough.
Yeah. So those were things that were really important to me that I want to share
Yeah.
with people who are wondering or who have always wanted to do modeling. Like, just do it. Just do it. Get in there. If I can do it, you can do it. The only thing that makes me possibly different is that I'm a little bolder, a little less inhibited. But anybody can be a model or an actor.
Cool.
And I really, really mean that. I really
Yeah.
mean, and I don't just
That's great
mean
encouragement.
because it's not a superficial thing. It's about service.
Yeah.
Especially acting, like nowadays with all of the violence, promiscuity, just things that
Mhm.
break down compassion are
Mhm.
presented in the media. It's important to be on the other side of that, for me,
Right.
anyway,
Yeah.
to be bringing compassion, inspiration, things that bring that uplift the spirit and not tear it down.
I like that.
But once again, I over answered you,
No,
Benjamin.
you did
My
not.
experience with
That was-
acting, and it's been a really, really nourishing experience, and it has helped me to enter the next phase of my life
Mhm.
with a lot of hope, a lot of passion, because most people at my age, and I don't mean to say that this is a negative thing
No,
or
for
that this
sure.
is just how it should be, but they're married, maybe on their second marriage, they've got families, and that's the focus of life.
Mhm.
And so without having that, it has opened me up to be able to ask myself, what is the best service that I can give to this world?
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm more focused on acting now than on modeling. But of course, I will still do modeling jobs. I still do them.
Sure.
It's a very, very positive profession. Okay.
Yes.
I don't want anybody to ever get stuck in the mindset that it's about beauty. It's not.
Right.
It's not about beauty.
Business. I like that. That's good stuff that people need to know. It's stuff. The fun stuff is great, but there's more to it in the background. So, what about Lili? The next 5 years, do you have some big targets you want to try and hit here? Things you want to accomplish?
Yes, definitely. I do have a 5-year goal, and it includes a lot of traveling because traveling is a life education that
It
you
is.
really can't get unless you do it.
Yeah.
You can travel somewhat in your imagination if you read a good book or watch a good movie,
Sure.
but actually going somewhere where they don't speak English or Spanish and getting along there, getting immersed in the culture, the music,
Mm.
it changes you in a way that you can't be unchanged. It's like a tesseract, like a hypercube.
Yeah.
You find out more about yourself and about the world than you ever imagined. So traveling is one thing, to continue acting and to be strongly on the side that promotes not necessarily Christian themes, but uplifting themes.
Yeah. Oh, for
There
sure.
always has to be a conflict in a movie, or else it's just two friends hanging out. But that the conflict is resolved in such a way
Good and
that there's
evil.
redemption,
Yeah.
that people evolve. So for me, what I would love to do is join with like-minded actors and producers, and there's very many of them out there. There's Angel Network out there.
Hmm.
I've already worked with Dallas Jenkins as one of his, actresses in The Chosen
Right.
as a
Yes.
background actress. Okay, just want to be clear. And
Still a big show.
it is a big show, and it's promoting that. It's promoting, good themes and wholesome themes, because I believe that there is a great need for it right now in the world. And
Isn't
so
that the
I want
truth?
to be on the positive side of that. So doing a lot of work with uplifting themes. And also this is a goal that I have for this year. I wrote a book 4 years ago about
Cool.
living in Hawaii. And so I'm going to get that published, because for me, the theme is about being responsible about the world you live in. And I don't
Yes.
just mean like picking up your trash or, not littering,
Yeah.
about really understanding that what you do or don't do has an effect in the world.
Yes.
And it all dawned upon me while I was trying to think of what's the theme of this book. Like I know what it is now, but it came upon me while I was at the gym. And it's something so simple, Benjamin, as that the paper towels were at, like it was 4 years ago when they were really, really stringent on, clean the equipment before and after use, and people are working with their masks, and there's no paper towel. And so I went and, nicely, politely told the front desk people, and they replaced it. And they just made me wonder, why don't other people do that? Why, like they weren't doing it. They would just go to the other station for paper towels. And I just had to ponder that a little bit. And it came to me one day, like kind of a voice speaking to me in my head, like when I moved to Hawaii, and the voice was just like, you got to be here.
Right.
And the voice just answered me, because they're not responsible like you, and that was just such a huge light, because just asking for paper towels is going to make a difference, not only to me, but to that next person. They're not going to have to go to the next station. And so that was just something personal to me that really lit up my world, that I intend to go more in depth into in my book. And so what I want to do for the next 5 years, the next 10 years, is put out as much inspiring and positive works as possible, whether that's in modeling and acting, actually in anything I can do. I want to put it out there so that I'm remembered in an uplifting and inspiring, positive way, that walk through this world and make it a better place.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to do, not just in general, to actually say it, to have it as the mission for your life.
Yeah.
Because we're all going to have good days and bad days, but to actually define your own life is something that I think is really important, because guess what? You're alive and you're going to die. And you should be in control of that time and the quality of it. It's of the utmost importance. And so I want to also just stress those things in modeling. Don't count on your agent. Be your own agent. Be over prepared. Okay. In acting, just be focused. Okay. Be focused. And just in general life, decide what it is that you want to do with your life and do it.
Yeah.
Wait for an opportunity to come, or for the right this and that. That's just a way to check out.
Yeah.
Okay? You get up and you do it. Just like you get up and you brush your teeth or you take a shower, you get up and take that next step
every day
in your life. Yeah. I over answered you again, but I think that these things are important just in a more grand scheme. And I rarely hear these things on podcasts.
Yeah.
Kind of stick to the topic, and people get very personal about themselves and want to promote themselves. And those opportunities will come when your actions are in line with your purpose.
Right. Well said. No, thank you. And thank you for sharing that. I think that it educates everybody in a really inspiring way too, right? That's really what we want to do. How do people get a hold of you, Lili, if they want to follow you or support you in what you do and watch you along the way?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I'm at Nelson Fashion Group. So I believe the website is it is theagencytalent.net.
Agency Talent.
I'm also on IMDb.
Okay.
IMDb as Lili Alba. And, I've got Facebook and Instagram at Lili Alba 99. So I'd love to make connections with anybody who wants to hear more.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I met you, Benjamin. I'm going back to Vancouver for an acting intensive in August, and I'll be sure to reach out to you. I know that you're quite far away, but now that I know another person in Canada,
totally.
Reach out and see how your life is going.
Definitely. Never know where paths might cross there down the road. So, but cool. Well, other than that, I think thank you again for sharing and taking the time, and we look forward to seeing all the things that you accomplish in the future there, Lili. So.
Thank you so much. It makes me feel really good to have spent time with you and to put more positive messages out there.
Absolutely.
Because we need them. We all need to hear them. I need to hear them.
Yes.
And so thank you for giving me this opportunity.
No, thanks for taking it. Appreciate that. So, thank you.